This is Aaron, and I want to spend a few moments talking to you about what it is that I do before a service to basically get everything in motion, get everything set up. Because there is a lot, and there's going to be opportunities coming here very shortly that will require some extra help. And it's important that you know all of the little things that go into a Sunday morning. So first of all, right out of the gate, if you're having to set up for rehearsal or worship on a Sunday morning or any worship gathering, I highly recommend you get here 30 minutes to an hour earlier. So my plan on Sunday mornings is usually to get here by 8 or around 8 o'clock, and that gives me plenty of time to get everything set up. And we'll walk through that here in this video, and I'll show you exactly what I do. But this is the first, we're in the choir room right now. This is going to be your first stop. And the reason why this is going to be your first stop is because there's key pieces of equipment that you're going to need to take to and ferry to different parts of the sanctuary and the auditorium. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to need, and we're going to walk over here to our cabinet. I've recently relocated some of our equipment to make it more accessible to everybody and not just me. For the longest time I had a lot of this stuff in my office, and now it's in our choir room. So everything you will need will be accessible to everybody on the worship team or whoever needs to get to it. So the first thing you need to locate is the camera and our SD card. So I have it labeled on a piece of tape. You're going to open it up. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. You're going to locate the camera bag. All right, I'm going to open up that camera bag. What you should find inside is obviously the camera. Go ahead and secure that. You're going to need that because one of the jobs is we actually have to set up for our video technicians, our videographers. They normally don't come until either during the cafe time or right before service, and sometimes they've actually shown up right as the service is starting. So they don't really have time to do this, and we want to enable our volunteers to be set up for success. The other thing you're going to locate are our SD cards, and the SD cards are actually in the same bag. It's going to be located in the side pouch here, and there's a couple SD cards in here, or actually there's several. You're going to want to get 2 out. The first one you're going to try to locate is a 32 gigabyte SD card. That, and I'll have it labeled. It's not labeled currently. It was, and then it got smeared. This is going to go to the soundboard, and I'll show you where that goes. We're going to set that to the side. We're going to locate another SD card. We want the 64 gigabyte SD card. That's actually going to go inside of the camera. The bigger one needs to go in the camera because the data is so large for our video. We shoot in 4K HD quality, and we need as much space as possible. So the SD card goes in this slot underneath. I'm going to insert it, close it. The next thing we're going to need to do is format it. So you're going to open it up. If it's not turned on like it is right now, there's a power button right here. We're going to turn that on. All right, and if you can see on our screen, I'll set this down. All right. This is a touch screen, and we're going to touch these left and right arrows. It's going to pull up this thing called menu. We want to open our menu. All right, and then we want to go to setup. And then we're going to simply scroll down until we see an option that says format media. So format media is right there. It's about the 4th page in. We're going to select that. Do you want to format the card? Absolutely, we want to do that. It's going to erase all the contents, of course, assuming that we downloaded everything prior to, which I did. We're going to say yes. It's going to erase everything on the card that frees up all of the space. It takes a couple minutes, or it actually takes just a few seconds. And then once that's done, our camera is ready to go. And all we're going to do is we're going to take it over to the camera station and plug it in so that it has plenty of battery before its actual use for a Sunday morning. The video operators know exactly what to do as far as plugging it in and getting it set up, so you should not have to do that. All right, camera's ready to go. We have our SD card. There's a couple more items that we need out of here, and that's our iPads. So we have 2 iPads. We have, I think this is a 12-inch or 11-inch iPad. That controls our lighting during the service, but we can also use it to control the soundboard, obviously. So we're going to need to get that set up and turn on the lights. I'm going to set that to the side. And then the bigger one is actually what we've been using to provide Dave with a monitor for his Prezi presentations. So it's the 21-inch, it's the behemoth. That's going to go on the stage. All right, so now that we have all of our items, we're going to start running stuff around. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by setting up the camera and then running the SD card upstairs to the soundboard. All right, we have arrived at the recording station for our video, and I have the camera at the station, and all we're going to do is we're going to simply plug in our camera. If I can get it plugged in, and it's going to charge. You'll notice this other cable here. This is just for, that's for when the videographer arrives. That plugs into the side. There's an HDMI input there on the side. And basically what it does is it blows up what the camera's recording into this actual monitor, so the whoever's working the camera that day can better see the image quality. Now, a quick note, because I didn't mention this earlier, one of the other things that I do is I want to make sure that everybody has the order of service set up. I print out 5 orders of services, and they look like this. I'm sure you've seen that from Planning Center. I put one here at the video station. I actually put one over here by the offering plate. I, of course, have one, so that's 3. I have one at the sound booth, and then I have one in the media room. So that will, you can either do that throughout the week. I usually do that. I try not to wait until the last minute. I'd like to have that done before rehearsal on Thursday. All right, our next stop is the soundboard. All right, we have arrived at the soundboard. You see our order of services here. We're going to remove the cover, set that off to the side. And we need to turn on the power. It takes a few minutes. That's why we needed to come up here first, because we needed to turn on the whole system. It's super complicated. No, it's not. It's really easy. We're going to make sure the key, this is the power switch. We're going to make sure the key is in the enabled position. If it's disabled, that means it's not going to turn on. Enabled, and then we're just going to press this button. And it's going to start up everything. Our subwoofers, our main speakers. It's going to turn on everything. All right, remember that SD card, the 32 gig SD card? We're not going to insert it. We need to make sure that it's full. So we need to go up to our media room next. All right, now that we're up here in the media room, we need to format our SD card. I have it right here. I'm going to insert it into the back of the Mac as my phone falls down. All right. It should come up on our Mac. There it is, soundboard. And we're going to open up this application called the SD card formatter. And it's going to erase all of our content and make sure that it's good to go to record any of our audio data. Click format, continue. I need to type in our password, which of course is YAGOD, or I guess YAGOD, depending on how you pronounce that word. But it's YEAHGOD. All right, and it is successfully formatted. So now we need to eject, and we need to go insert it into our soundboard. That's our next stop. While we're up here, though, we're going to take a few moments to go ahead and turn on stuff and make sure that our media technician is set up for success. They know how to do this, but it just helps to speed things along too. So we're going to go ahead and turn on both computers. Mac's already on. I'm going to turn on the projector by using this remote and the blue button. Just one push of the button one time, and it's going to be turning on. Same password for this computer. This computer controls Prezi. This computer controls ProPresenter and Spotify. All right, and I actually have labels up here next to the computers in case people get confused. All right, so while that's booting up, we're going to run down the SD card to the soundboard. All right, we're here at the soundboard, and we're going to insert our SD card into the soundboard. That's simply going to go right here. Oop, if I turn it the right way, and you're good to go. Your sound technicians know how to set up the recording for every single service, so there's no need to worry about setting that up. They'll set it up for you. All right, before we head back downstairs, and then we'll have to come back upstairs one more time, we have one more thing left to do. If you'll notice, on our projector, we have the blue screen of death. It's because it's not receiving a signal because this thing isn't turned on. This is called an HDMI matrix, and it's a video switch that basically switches the outputs of the projector from either computer. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. And then both computers should sync up with the projector here momentarily. And I'll demonstrate its capability here shortly. So right now, the output is coming from the Mac. You can see the background displayed there. To switch between both computers on HDMI output 1, we're just going to press the button here. And you'll see that it is now switched over to the PC. And that's how we switch between Prezi and ProPresenter. Is simply by pressing that button, we can now switch between both computers. All right, we need to head downstairs because we have lighting to take care of next. All right, we're downstairs again, and we're ready to start turning on lights and getting power to the stage. So there are 6 locations that we need to turn on power or get power to on stage, and we're going to go basically in a clockwise or counterclockwise motion so that way we don't forget a step. So I like to start on either side of the stage. So right now I'm on the left side, and I'm going to work all the way over to the right so that way I don't forget. All right, so I'm going to start with getting our light plugged in here. There's one, so that's our first stop. Then we're going to come over to our Edison light bulbs. Turn on the switch there. That's stop number 2. All right, then we now have another strip back here that sends power to basically this side of the stage, including the cross, and it charges the iPad and among other things. Make sure. Okay, so sometimes Morgan turns off his switch as well. Scratch that. That power comes from this side of the stage as well. So let's go ahead and turn on these. These are the brown switches. There's 3 brown switches. 1, 2, 3. So that's stop number 4. All right, at the Edison light bulbs here, step number 5. And then finally, our last spotlight, stop number 6. And once that's plugged in, we now have, it's not on yet, but we now have power to the whole stage. And now what we need to do is configure our iPad to turn on all of the stage lights. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. All right, I have the 11.5-inch iPad that we're going to use to control our lighting. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure it's connected to the right router. So I'm going to go into our Wi-Fi settings. All right, I want to make sure that it's connected to this router, Netgear 83 5G. If it's connected to Bridgeway Audio or Bridgeway, it's not going to be able to control the lighting. Here's the reason why. There's a router separate from the internet, everything else. You can't see it, it's kind of dark over here. It's that one right there. It is plugged in to this interface. That interface is then connected to every single light on the stage, okay? And that router gives us the ability to access and control and send signals to all of our lighting wirelessly. We're gonna open up this app here on the bottom right. It's the Luminaire app. Wait for it to load. And then we're gonna wait for it to get synced up here. Okay, so sometimes when you turn this on, you will get an automatic response. That's actually the majority of the time. For whatever reason, right now, I'm not getting any response, which means I need to do some troubleshooting, and it's really simple. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an about face, and I'm gonna come over to this interface that I just showed you. It's this blue box. I'm gonna unplug it, make sure that there's power getting to it, and there's no power getting to it right now. So that's problem number one. Why is that not getting power? There we go. Just show that it was getting power. All right, so it looks like what the problem was was that the connection or the power supply was not properly plugged in, so I just had to fiddle with it, and it has power, and then lo and behold, everything turns on. We'll test out our scenes that we have pre-built. So here's our sermon scene. We'll see if that things are adjusted. Yep, things are moving. Try our low light scene. Yeah, that's real nice. And the thing that's always tricky here too is we'd like to use this blackout scene for like if we use a video, and sometimes it doesn't black out all the way. So here's a great example. Everything else is turned off except those guys, those spotlights. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the bottom right here. I'm gonna open that up. Come on, buddy. There we go. It's gonna bring up all of our lighting faders, and we're just gonna come over here where you see where it says master fade, and we're just gonna bring that down. And now it is automatically saved. You don't have to do anything else. It's automatically saved for that particular scene. So if I click on worship, spotlights turn back on automatically. But then when I go back to blackout, boom, everything turns off. Beautiful, awesome. All right, so we need to head back upstairs because we need to finish setting up our media presentations for today. The first thing though, before we head upstairs, we need to do a couple things. The first thing is we need to turn on our stage display. The remote is located here, conveniently. We're just gonna turn it on. It's already connected to the computer, so once we see that red light blinking and sharp come on, it'll take a couple minutes to boot up, but it will eventually access the signal to the Mac. Look at that, that was super quick. And then we're ready to move on. Our next stop is actually in the foyer, and until I get somebody else trained specifically, maybe with FICON to do this, it's really not complicated, but I don't really have anybody right now that knows how to do this besides me, so I've been doing it. This is our TV in the foyer that has kind of this scrolling announcement display. It's a chance to communicate to people coming in what's going on in the church. It's very professional. It looks really good. So the remote is here at the front desk. All we're going to do, we're going to turn it on. And we're going to turn it on. There we go. This one's a little bit slower. And basically how this works is there's a USB card or a USB flash drive that's loaded right there. And it has like a picture loop. And so on the remote, you'll see there's like a D-pad right there with the OK button. So it's already selected photo. We want to select that. We're going to hit OK. The name of the flash drive is C So we're going to hit OK again. We're going to go to our loop folder. And then all you're going to do is you're going to scroll over and go to our first photo, which is the Alive photo. You're going to hit OK again. And then on the actual remote, just hit exit out of that toolbar. Let's see, point it at it. There you go. Closed out of the toolbar, and it will automatically scroll, as you should see here shortly. We're done with the TV, and now we need to head upstairs. All right, we are back upstairs, and we are ready to open up our presentations for today. So on the Mac, we're going to open up first, go to ProPresenter. That'll take a second. Simultaneously, we'll come over here to the PC, and we're going to select Prezi Next. While that's loading. So for Prezi Next, we started doing something a little bit different now, and it'll be kind of an interesting process, and so bear with me in the video. Normally we have 2 people. You will need 2 people to set it up. So if you're here before church and this is as far as you get, that's perfect, because you'll need help when the media tech actually arrives to set up. Going back to ProPresenter. Now we have ProPresenter open. All right. Your tech will know exactly what to do from here. You have it open right now, but I'll show you just in case. I like to make sure that all of my displays are showing up properly. So I go to ProPresenter 6. I scroll down to Preferences. Go over to Display. I'm going to make sure the stage display is enabled. So click that button right there. Close out of that. I'll select a slide, just to make sure everything's jiving. Turn on the output. That's that button right there. Boom. And then when you look at the screen, look at that. Everything's working. And we'll actually go downstairs and make sure our stage display is working properly too. But I can toggle back and forth. I can see that it's working anyway. All right. I am going to pretend as if I have 2 people. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be perfect. But I'm going to do my best to show you how we set up for Prezi. So the first thing we need to do is we need to switch our outputs. So again, going back to the HDMI matrix here, pressing that button there for output 1. All right, now we have Bridgeway. What we need to do now is we need to find the presentation we're going to be using to present. So let's use last Sunday's sermon. We're going to hit this drop-down menu. We're going to go up to this option here where it says Prezi Remote. We're going to open that up. All right, and typically when you have 2 people, you're going to wait for the other person on stage to say, with the iPad, let them know, like, hey, I'm ready to set it up, and then you'll hit connect. I'm going to go ahead and hit it, and I'm going to drag it across the screen, assuming that it's connecting. All right, it's dragged across. I'm going to maximize it, so it's completely maximized now. All right, it is still trying to connect, so I'm going to head downstairs now and try to connect before it times out. So unfortunately the connection timed out before I was able to make it down here, but either way I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to open up the application Prezi Viewer. Looks like I'm offline. It's probably because I'm connected to a network that doesn't have internet. So I'm going to connect to Bridgeway. Yep, connected to Bridgeway Audio that has no internet. There we go. Bam. Wait for it to load. Okay, should be working. Close out of the program. Let's try to open it again. There we go. So I'm just going to select, this was the sermon, right? So it gives me 3 options. I'm going to select Start Remote. It will connect. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to, once it's connected, I'm going to put it into profile, so not landscape, but profile. And then I'm going to set it up in this stand right here, just like that. I can't do it with one hand, so that's about as good as it's going to get. Just make sure it's tight, it doesn't fall out. All right? All right, so that is pretty much it as far as the setup goes. I'll make a troubleshooting video as well to help you work through some things if something goes wrong that you can reference. But shutting down is almost a similar process. You've got to make sure things are turned off. Sometimes people don't know where things go, especially the equipment. It can't be left out. We don't want sticky fingers. So again, make sure that the iPads come back here. So the iPad Pro has this specific, let's see, this specific plug. I think that's the USB-C. And it's just going to go right here in this mailbox thingy. All right, and then the other one will go right below that. Again, the camera and the SD cards go back in this bag. This bag goes back into the cabinet. All right, and then we're going to work through the process of turning off all of the lights. Right, turn off all the lights. We have 6 locations throughout the auditorium that the lights need to be unplugged. So again, 1, 2, 3 switches. All right, come back across. Almost forgot these lights. Bam. Same for the spotlight. Make sure it's unplugged. Okay. The iPad again needs to go back. The camera, usually they leave the camera sitting out. Again, you need to grab that. The tendency is that want to turn off this TV before ProPresenter gets turned off. You don't want to do that yet, and I'll show you why. All right, we're back in the media room. And you want to make sure that you turn off ProPresenter first and all the display outputs, but if you turn off the displays beforehand, it's going to send all of the outputs to the Mac, and it's going to get really messy. You won't be able to do anything. So I'm going to turn off the display. I'm going to quit ProPresenter. I'm going to do the same for Prezi over here. So where's my come here, mouse? There I am. Close all windows. All right, and now I can turn off the projector. It's 2 presses. I have to press it twice. I'm going to turn off the HDMI matrix. And then you're just going to put the computers to sleep. You don't have to actually shut them down. I'd appreciate it if you just put them to sleep. All right, and then just a couple more stops and then we're done for the day. Usually your sound techs will have the soundboard turned off, but in case they don't, make sure that it's turned off. It's very easy. It's just before we get to that, just make sure that the SD card, the recording is saved. Your sound techs should know how to do that. You should check with them before they leave, make sure that it was saved. We're going to pull it out. We're going to return the SD card back to the camera bag. I'm going to put it back in the soundboard for now. All right, and the process to turn off the soundboard, again, is super complicated, / it's not complicated. Press a button. And then before we leave, we're going to cover the soundboard back up with a cover. I want to make sure this just protects it from dust from getting in. All right. And everything is starting to shut down. Everything's turned off. Usually the house lights are turned off, so you should be good in that regard. And That's pretty much it, guys. So again, I'm going to post some troubleshooting videos. Usually the troubleshooting comes, we figured out everything pretty much with the board. Your sound tech should have it. The only trouble we've ever had lately is with the in-ears, and I'll kind of show you here in a second a couple things to look out for. Don't forget to turn off the TV for the stage display, and then don't forget to turn off the TV in the foyer. All right?